there was some controversy over the fact that, the ball was exploding.
They hit like 100 home runs and score like 20 runs.
Everyone did. Like the whole tournament was that way. It was tennis rackets and golf balls. And
they may, at that time,
yeah,
the SEC baseball teams may have been scoring more points than the football teams. If you're a middle of the lineup hitter and you like how Composite swings, then Composite's the best bat for you.
Yeah.
If you're a leadoff hitter,
that's a great point.
And you like how Alloy feels when you're swinging, then Alloy is the right bat for you.
Yeah, you can't pigeonhole this.
No.
What are 3 Composite bats right now during 2024 that you really like? And welcome back to the Batter Up Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler. And today, joined by a familiar face, Logan Snyder himself. As one of our lead buyers, Logan learns about a bat before you even know it exists. I'm leaning on Logan here to help me break down some of the most common questions about composite bats. But before we get there, Logan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tyler. Glad that you're having me back even after the favorite movies pod.
Yeah, that was rough.
I haven't heard, at least on X, I haven't heard too much yet, but I'll take you on. I love my movies. So if you have
movies, those were like kind of movies. Like,
they were feature films. Okay.
I don't know that Fastball even was.
You're probably right. But hey, good flick.
Here we go. Composite bats. Speaking of good flick, composite bats can give you a little good flick into the outfield.
It is, yeah. I mean, that's one of the benefits of a composite bat. They're usually almost exclusively now of 2-piece construction. So yeah, you do get a little flip action.
Yeah.
Obviously wood was the first bat, just a solid chunk of wood, transitioned into aluminum bats that are a single piece of aluminum that's stretched. Obviously it's hollow.
Yep.
Lighter. How can we make that better? Maybe not necessarily, maybe better then, but now with all of the standards today, not necessarily better in performance, but still lighter, longer barrel is composite, which has been around for, I don't know, the last 20 or 30 years or so.
That's interesting you bring up how long it's been around, because it seems to be kind of unknown in the community of how long composite bats have truly been around. I was trying to research composite bats to give you like a quick overview of like, boom, in 1978, Louisville Slugger created this and this and this, but that didn't seem to really exist online. We'll have to dig a little bit more and maybe come up with, a detailed guide towards that. But from what I could tell, in about the 80s, slow pitch softball started to incorporate some composite bats. We'll touch on why that's the case and why slow pitch gravitates so much to these composite barrels specifically. But beyond that, it looked like slow pitch was doing a little bit of composite in the 80s and 90s. Baseball started to come into play a little bit in the 90s as well, but it wasn't really until the early 2000s that composite bats really took off. Composite bats are interesting in the fact that they take a while to break in and get to their peak performance, because if you look at the way that a composite bat's constructed, it's microfibers that are woven together that need to break in. And as they break in, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can see my fingers right now, they start to kind of soften. And then all of a sudden you've got more trampoline effect that occurs from that.
I'd like to get a compression test on that right there.
That does not meet BBCOR standards.
That's way too soft.
way too soft. It needs an inner barrel in there. But so those composite bats, as they break in and as they get hotter, they'll proceed to get hotter and hotter and hotter. And in the early 2000s, in the mid and the late 2000s, bat manufacturers started to really understand this and get a grasp that this was an opportunity to create a really, really hot bat. A bat that, maybe is tested right out of the wrapper and it totally meets all standards.
Yeah.
But as these bats continue to break in, they only get hotter with time. As we ramped up throughout the 2000s, we saw kids gravitate towards those composite bats. Some were swinging alloy, some were swinging composite. But as word got out, it became very apparent that composite was an advantage. It was an advantage in the fact that it was getting hotter with time. I was swinging the Easton Stealth black and gold bat. Everyone talks about the orange and blue bat. But those stealth models were awesome. There were tons of these different composite bats that after about 500 swings were, without a doubt, noticeably different than alloy bats.
Super bouncy.
So bouncy. Like the ball would jump off. The trampoline effect was very real. And doing this research, I noticed that at the end of the 2009 NCAA baseball tournament, do you know who won that?
2009?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. SEC team?
Yeah.
I do not. I don't know. I have no idea.
The LSU Tigers,
Nice.
led by Paul Maneri.
Go Tigers.
Yes. DJ LeMahieu was leading up that team. But there was some controversy over the fact that, the ball was exploding.
They hit like 100 home runs and score like 20 runs.
Everyone did. Like the whole tournament was that way. It was tennis rackets and golf balls. And
they may, at that time,
yeah,
the SEC baseball teams may have been scoring more points than the football teams.
That was the era of like Nick Saban's defenses.
Yeah.
Like
you'd have LSU,
down.
Alabama football like
9-6.
And I'm sure that some of the baseball games were probably 15-12 or something like that.
Yeah, they were kicking field goals with 3-run home runs. That would be an interesting. How often did a baseball game outscore
pre-Beezer
some of the lowest
or pre-BBCOR college baseball versus their,
especially in the SEC
football counterpart?
Yeah. The Big 12, you would have never outscored Big 12 football. We're getting sidetracked. Anyhow, so in 2009, obviously the NCAA tournament is shown on ESPN. It's given a lot of eyeballs, and all of a sudden scrutiny came out over the fact that like, wow, this doesn't look like baseball anymore. It looks like a different sport altogether. So it takes a little while to put a standard in place, but by 2011, they had come up with BBCOR. And BBCOR's entire intention was to limit some of this chaos that was happening in batters boxes. So these composite bats were put under a microscope. Basically, it had come full circle that, okay, these are basically a cheat code.
Yep.
Once you've broken them in, they're way hotter. They're giving an advantage in a way that is not supposed to be the case. So BBCOR came around, kind of dampened those down. We still have seen times, in my opinion, where composite bats have kind of skirted the performance threshold because they do get hotter with time. But I do feel like nowadays we're seeing these bats tested fully broken in, and you've kind of lost some of that advantage that you get from swinging composite. So beyond the trampoline effect, go ahead and tell us a little bit about the pros and cons of composite bats.
So with composite, you're still getting usually a much lighter swing than you would with an alloy bat or a hybrid bat. You still usually get a bigger sweet spot, more forgiving bat. If you hit it, closer to your hands or off the end, you're still going to get closer to that BBCOR limit of performance than you would with an alloy or for sure a wood bat. Again, with them being of almost exclusively two-piece construction, you almost feel nothing on your hands when you're swinging. If you square one up, you don't feel anything. Yeah. But even if you mishit one, you still don't feel much. So all of those advantages are still there with the composite bat. The only thing that BBCOR does is now when they're doing the testing process, they test the bats after hundreds, if not thousands of impacts, just to make sure it never gets above that 0.500 threshold. So there are still advantages if you're the type of player that's looking for something that swings super light, that has a big sweet spot, two-piece construction. Those are the advantages that you would get with the composite bat over aluminum or hybrid bat.
Yeah. Yeah. And those are advantages that I always have sought out. So as somebody that doesn't necessarily want to stretch the entire field, my goal when I step into a batter's box is to, make good contact and place it somewhere in the outfield. That's not to say I like with a composite bat, you can't turn on one and burn an outfielder. That still happens. But for the most part, I loved that a composite bat, like you said, was easy to control. And I felt like I could cover all of the plate and then some. Like I could take even 6 more inches off the plate on the outside. And I wasn't afraid of like throwing my hands to foul off a good pitch. Whereas alloy, you feel that you hit one off the end cap, you hit one off the hands, and it shoots up your spine a little bit. And there's benefits there as well, as we've touched on in the past. But as a composite person myself, that's what gravitates me towards composite is this feeling of I can protect the entire plate no matter what. I am good 2 strikes. I am good at all times. I'm in control of keeping, myself in the at bat. So go ahead with the cons then.
Usually price
Yeah.
is a lot of times the only one that's universal across, leadoff hitters through the middle of the order, all the way through the batting order. The price is kind of the first thing that is a barrier for people. And you think, it costs more, it must be a better bat. Well, if you're looking for the things that we've talked about, then it is a better bat.
Mhm.
The performance, if the bat is stationary and the ball hits it, is going to be the same as an alloy bat. But the biggest difference is who's swinging it. So
Yep.
if you feel comfortable swinging it, then it's the best bat for you. So the biggest con is usually the price, and it just requires more research. The manufacturing process of a composite bat is just a lot more intensive than just stretching out an alloy bat. So
Yeah.
that's usually where the cost comes from. And then the two-piece construction is just another manufacturing process that takes a little bit longer. So usually that cost is due to how much it costs to just simply make the bat. But you do get all those advantages that we talked about: the two-piece, easier on the hands, bigger sweet spot, lighter swing weight, all of those things that you don't necessarily get with an alloy bat.
Yeah. Now, you talk about how if you have an alloy barrel and a composite barrel and the ball hits it at rest, it's going to react the same. Now, I want you to talk as Logan Snyder himself, the hitter himself, because you don't necessarily, I don't know that I've ever seen you like opt to swing a composite bat.
No, not usually.
So what is it that you're feeling, more from alloy than composite? Like do you get more out of alloy? Do you like yourself?
Alloy feels more comfortable to swing to me.
Okay.
If I'm swinging a composite bat, I'll try to get a 34-inch or something, just so it feels like there's some weight out there.
Uh-huh.
I feel like a composite bat swings so much lighter. Maybe it could be my swing mechanics are terrible, which is probably part of it. It could be just several different factors, but it just doesn't feel right when I'm swinging it. Obviously, it feels better holding it. A
Yeah.
composite bat feels great when you're just holding it, but the swing just gets all. You think about swinging like a toothpick or a pencil or something. It's just weird to get it going.
Uh-huh.
But once I get an alloy bat or an end-loaded bat going, it just finishes the swing for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you feel like you can like get through the ball more with an alloy?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I just think I have such a different, I guess, mindset. Once my swing is started, it's got to end.
There's no
So I've
check
already
swings.
the decision's already been made on where I'm swinging and that I am swinging.
Yeah.
And so my idea behind hitting is to hit the ball as hard as I can.
I love that.
And if the swing hard in case you hit it,
Yeah.
that's kind of my philosophy. So whereas you would be a good hitter and you would hit the ball where it's pitched, things like that.
Yeah.
Composite bat.
But I was more of a defensive hitter. But
You're putting the bat on the ball is what
yeah,
you're trying to do.
yeah.
I'm trying to put the ball on the bat.
Yeah, and I think there's probably the best way to hit is somewhere in between us.
Probably.
Because I
think that's where this all comes back to. If you're a middle of the lineup hitter and you like how composite swings, then composite's the best bat for you.
Yeah.
If you're a leadoff hitter,
that's a great point.
and you like how alloy feels when you're swinging, then alloy is the right bat for you.
You can't pigeonhole this stuff.
No,
like just hit with what you hit with. I see Rawlings icons all the time in the college level now. And, last year, I don't know that I saw but 5 total composite bats in the entire NCAA like tournament. So it's something to keep in mind. Just find the bat that is comfortable and right for you. Swing your teammates' bats, hit with bats, because they're all different, and finding them is it's a hard process, but once you do, just have that confidence and know. And I talked to Warstick last week, and they were talking about how Ian Kinsler never changed his bat. because he knew once he hit with that bat, it wasn't the bat anymore, it's the player.
Right.
So find a bat that you feel good, you hit with, and then just let your hitting go to work. So, all right, I want to get to these other questions as well, though. How do you properly break in a composite bat in 30 seconds?
You can't break one in 30 seconds.
All right, all right. How do you properly break in a composite bat?
I usually, just suggest starting off a tee. Just take some 50% swings, just rotate the bat in between swings.
Why do you rotate it?
Just so you get an even break in all the way around the barrel. After you've done that for 100, 150 swings, maybe you move to some front toss. You up it to like 75%, something like that. Get another 100 to 200 swings in there. You're pretty good after that. You probably avoid any of the breakage that you might, if you take a composite bat straight into game usage without breaking it in. That used to be, 5, 6, 10 years ago, you'd run the risk of breaking it because it wasn't ready to take that kind of contact yet. Most of them are pretty much game ready in the fact that you could use it in a game without it breaking. I don't know that you'd have the best performance still. But yeah, just, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour off the tee and front toss, and it's pretty good to go. Especially BBCOR, there's not a ton that you can of performance that you can get into by breaking it in, just because of what we talked about earlier. The testing standards and everything happen, 500,000, 1,500 hits down the road. So you're never going to break that BBCOR threshold.
Yep.
But I do still recommend, a couple hundred hits off a tee or front toss. For fast pitch, it's probably a little bit more than that, because you can get to a little bit higher level of performance.
Yeah. And I think it's important to touch on almost every single fast pitch bat that you see that is, drop 11 or heavier is going to be a composite bat.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, take your time. A lot of them, again, are game ready. You can use them in a game and you may not run the same risk of breaking it. But I would say if you got, you pick up your bat and you don't play for another week or so, you might spend a couple days hitting off a tee or front toss and to get that thing broke in. But yeah, the best way is just to, similar to breaking in a glove, just use it. Same thing for breaking in a composite bat is just, use it off a tee, some front toss.
Yeah.
Good to go.
Yeah. So, we've talked about these composite barrels a lot. One thing that's really come into the market in the last 5 years, really since I feel like we've been at the company, has been hybrid bats. Hybrid bats have an alloy barrel and a composite handle. What's the benefit to this composite handle alloy barrel combination?
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's a great combination of the two. So you get the sting reduction, you get the comfortable swing of a two-piece bat.
Yeah.
But with the alloy barrel, you don't have there's no break-in, nothing like that. You're getting peak performance right out of the wrapper. Another thing is hybrid bats are almost always at least a little bit inloaded.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see a lot at the college level, a lot of their middle of the lineup hitters will swing hybrid bats just because of that factor. They're a little bit inloaded, if not a lot inloaded, but almost never balanced. I don't know that there is a hybrid balanced bat, even if it claims to be one.
Yeah.
Going to swing heavier than if you were to get the exact same thing in a fully composite or even an alloy, all alloy bat. I think the hybrids are even heavier than maybe some inloaded alloy bats.
The hybrids are a little bit of the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth considering. I like looking at a hybrid bat like the Select Power from Louisville Slugger. It provides like a really big alloy barrel that has, a sweet spot that is, pretty large.
Yeah.
Specifically for an alloy bat. And then you have the composite handle to just like give you all the comfort in the world. Just like a really soft, good feel. I really like hybrid bats. I think they've come a long ways. It took them a little while to figure out like, how do we do this and make it competitive? And now that it's happened, I think they're here to stay. Absolutely. Okay, let's flip it because slow pitch flips it.
Oh yeah.
You see what I did there?
Yeah. So slow pitch, they do. They have a composite barrel and an alloy handle.
Why?
Usually in slow pitch, the guys that are going to swing a bat like that, they're wanting a stiff bat. Almost all slow pitch bats are two piece, and so they want the stiffest connection, um, the stiffest transition that they can get, and to get that, you use an alloy handle.
Mhm.
But then in softball, as we've talked about before, the performance standards are higher. They allow for higher um, exit velocities off the bat and things like that. So to get to those thresholds, composite provides that,
Mhm.
not necessarily alloy. You can get some alloy slow pitch bats. They're usually not going to perform as good as a composite alloy bat or a composite slow pitch bat. So they flipped it and gave the higher performing barrel
Mhm.
of composite with the stiffness of the um, aluminum material in the handle.
And now I've always associated stiffness with power. Is that a fair?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I think so. And it's not to exclude somebody who maybe doesn't see themselves as a power hitter, but typically, um, the the more power style hitters are going to want a stiffer bat. And like I said, in slow pitch, they're almost all two piece. So you got to find the stiffest two piece bat that you can, and usually that's going to be one that has an alloy handle. Even though there's not many of those around either anymore, it's almost all fully composite for slow pitch.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to touch on here, we're like kind of we're deep into the 2024 season. Um, and I did a mid-season review of some of the bats that are standing out. Some of the bats that maybe people aren't quite aware of, but reviews on our end have been really good. Performance that I've seen has been really good. What are 3 composite bats right now during 2024 that you really like?
The Icon is a
Yeah.
great one, and they just
Yeah.
had the uh, a one-off colorway come out, the glow stick,
Yeah.
so you can get kind of a highlighter version of that bat.
What a turnaround by Rawlings.
Yeah,
I mean, they really quick commentary on it. The Quattro was mixed in a lot of the reviews. The durability concerns, performance was pretty good, but it felt like they kind of were stuck for a while, for a couple years there of what they were really trying to be and what they wanted to be in the bat market. And it felt like the Icon brought them completely back into the bat world and kind of reminded people that like, oh, Rawlings is a big dog in this industry.
yep,
Um, so yeah, just big time shout out to Rawlings, and I know they partnered up with Easton, and I'm sure that that was beneficial to both sides. But that Icon has been awesome. BBCOR through U trip. Looking at the hype fire, and there's some hot water around it right now. I think the safest play in U trip right now is to go with that Icon and not really look back. That white and gold Icon's been awesome.
yep,
So
I agree with that. Um, the Cat X composite is
yeah.
always good. Um, Marucci in general, just always steady. You're never going to get something bad um, with that. And then the Louisville Slugger Meta. The Meta was, I think it was the first $500 bat
Yeah.
4 or 5 years ago when it first dropped. But the Meta is always good. That actually may have been the first Meta, the red one or maroon or whatever color that was. I
Uh-huh.
think it got
The blue one did.
the blue one did.
Yeah, the
Okay,
second year got
okay, so maybe the first one.
dinged.
But
Well,
I
okay,
didn't
okay.
I didn't dislike that one
So
when we swung that one.
so my opinion here, there's some fact in here, but a lot of this is opinion, so take that with a grain of salt. The Meta came out in I think 2018, and it like I mean there was buzz around our office of like what is it's a $500 bat and the barrel is like massive. It's a giant barrel, and oh yeah, by the way, it's light swinging. It's
Yeah,
like this doesn't comprehend with like the world of physics.
yeah,
How does this work? And it blew the community ablaze. Like, oh my gosh, the Meta $500 bat. It is the best bat. We love this bat. It's perfect. Like everyone was talking about it. I'd go on like runs by there's like a local baseball field that I see guys playing at all the time. And it was just like meta, 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 meta. So the next year came around and they didn't take a year off. Louisville Slugger typically releases every year. And they were like, boom, another Meta. So the only way to make that bat better was to skirt the line. And I think they pushed the limit with that blue one and, got caught. I don't know if it was intentional or not. They were just trying to improve upon it, I'm sure. But ultimately that bat got banned. They came back, or I think it might have just been the 33-inch got banned.
Yeah, I don't think it was all sizes.
It wasn't all sizes, but nonetheless, they came back with I think it was the black and gold one was the next one.
Mm-hmm.
There's a timeline here, but once it got banned, the next one came, and all of a sudden, like, some of the shimmer came off of the meta. And I don't think it's quite fair because I think the meta is an awesome bat.
Yeah.
I think what the meta does, and especially, if we're being smart shoppers and how we go about this, if you can get a previous year meta, like, that's the way to go. Get it at a discounted rate. Get it at JustBats, discounted rate, and you're still going to have like, if I was still in high school or playing in college today, the type of player I am, I'm probably going to swing that meta. Massive barrel, huge sweet spot, has really good performance. And like you said, like, even you kind of liked it.
I did. It sounded cool. That was the big thing. Like,
it had a different sound to it.
It sounded really cool for a composite bat. But yeah, like, as we talked about earlier, and as you just talked about, if price has been a big factor, you wanted to try a composite bat, you just can't. It's just, some of them are outrageous.
$400, $500 bats.
We have a lot of composite bats at great prices right now. We got metas for $200 off.
Wow.
So
yeah,
give them a look. If you've been thinking about trying one, now would be a great time to snag one before they're gone. So
it's a great investment too. I mean, you can just hit with that at practice and it'll break in over time. And then next thing you know, by fall, you've got your game ready game ready bat that you got at a discount. You're spot on there. Like, composite bats are expensive new releases. It's just the way they are. Like you said, it's a manufacturing process that's going to cause bats to be more expensive. Companies have to hit margins, but if you can do it smartly and you can go, I mean, I think JustBats is the best place, obviously, for it, but you shop our closeouts, you can find composite bats that are cheaper than brand new alloy bats. And especially in someone like in my shoes, like, you're going to find the exact bat that works for your game.
Yep.
So highly recommend that. Now, last question for you. This has nothing to do with composite bats and has everything to do with sitting in the dugout. What is the best gum to chew in the dugout?
I'm usually more of a seeds guy.
Yeah. Okay.
But if I have to go with a gum, I'm not a snob. Whatever the coach is providing, I'll chew it. Big League Chew, though.
Yeah.
It's got to be, right?
Wow. This feels sponsored.
No, it's not.
Shout out to Big League Chew.
It could be.
Yeah.
Big League Chew, Double Bubble.
I think those are the only two, like,
whatever you
really
got
up for debate. Nobody's out there chewing Big Red in the dugout, right?
No. No. It's not like, hey, you got any minty fresh gum?
No, it's got to be fun.
You're blowing bubbles.
Yeah. Grape Big League Chew.
Yeah. Can't go wrong. But yeah, I'm more of a seeds guy. I would prefer seeds if they're both there. If I got a buffet of dugout snacks.
Okay, what's your favorite seed then?
Because
mine's just standard sunflower seed, but I know there's flavors that
I like dill pickle. Well, okay, I get dill pickle.
That's the bench warmers
because of that. Because of that reason right there. Nobody else is gonna eat my seeds, man. If I'm getting dill pickle,
you are choosing a flavor because nobody else likes it.
I don't dislike it. I enjoy it. But Tyler's not going to be taking my seeds if I get dill pickle.
I'm also not taking your Benchwarmers DVD copy.
I wouldn't offer it to you. So
enjoy.
There you go.
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. I look at you differently. We need to stop doing these. I had like a positive perspective on you. And now I'm like really starting to question things.
I'm glad to have exceeded your expectations.
That was kind of punny. Exceeded?
Yeah.
Can you spell that word?
EXCEEDED.
I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the podcast. If you did, be sure to leave a like below on YouTube or subscribe on Spotify for upcoming releases. Logan, thank you so much for joining us today on this Composite Bat episode, and we'll see you next time.